What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're taking a look at the Olight Oclip in copper, and the copper is going to be our more premium offering, with the standard being an aluminum body. Now, functionality wise, these are going to be identical to the standard version, with two main differences. The first being the probably more glaring, and that's the price point. The copper version runs $60, whereas the standard version is only $30, so literally double. I did use a coupon code which got us down to $54, but that would have worked on the standard version as well. And so really going to be up to you if the upgrade to copper is worth the extra $30 or so that you're going to end up paying. For me, I obviously made the decision that it was, but everyone's priorities when shopping for flashlights a little bit different. If you're strictly utilitarian, probably that standard version will be perfectly fine. Now, the other major difference between the copper and the standard is going to be our weight. Once again, we're looking at over double for the copper version at 2.26 ounces, with that standard aluminum running 1.06 ounces. And so not really super noticeable in a pocket or a pouch or anything like that, but you do notice the weight difference in your hand. I appreciate the extra heft. I think it gives it a little bit more of a premium feel, but if you're shaving ounces for whatever reason, maybe you're an ultralight backpacker, I don't know that this is a really great flashlight for that, but if you're ultralight and trying to shave an ounce off, then obviously, again, the standard might make more sense, but I don't mind the extra heft of this one. Now, going to talk about the dimensions and the mounting options, all of that a little bit later, but let's jump right into the actual lighting modes on this one, because that's, I think, a big thing that a lot of people are going to be coming for. So, pretty easy operation, all operated through this button on the right side if the light's facing away from you. If it's facing towards you, obviously on the left side. And single click gets you into our main cycle, and it does have a memory mode. It looks like I left it in low mode, which is 10 lumens, will last about 12 hours. And so while we have it on, might be good to look at that button itself as well, because it does have a power indicator on there. And so it's glowing green right now, which means that we're over 60%. And if it changes to orange, we're in the 30 to 60% range, and red means that we're under 30%, and that does stay on while you're using it or also while you're charging it, but is off obviously when it's not in use. Now, to get to our next mode, you can just hold on to this for a second until it switches, and it will jump up to our next mode. Next is obviously going to be medium at 100 lumens, and this one will last for 90 minutes or about an hour and a half or so. Last mode in the main cycle is going to be our high mode. That's 300 lumens. Only lasts for a minute before it steps down to 180 lumens, which is still higher than our medium, and that'll last for about 60 minutes. And so I do like to leave it in the low mode, so I always cycle back to there. Actually, that looks like the Moonlight mode. Am I wrong? Oh no, it wasn't. Okay, so the low mode, 10 lumens. I like to leave it here because of that memory mode, and this is the one that I'm using most often, so single click turns it back off. Now, there is a Moonlight mode, which I obviously just mentioned. That's only a 1.5 lumens, lasts for 30 hours. In order to get there while it's off, if you hold it for 1 second, but less than 2 seconds, it will go into Moonlight mode. If you continue to hold it up to that 2 seconds, it will go into Lockout mode. So your Moonlight will go off, and then it'll be locked. Button press it, don't do anything until you unlock it. So 1.5 lumens, 30 hours in this mode. Now it will remember this as well, and so I like to cycle back into the low before turning it off so it doesn't remember that and go into that when I turn it back on. Now, the reason I don't use the Moonlight mode all that much is, one, I think the 10 lumens is a better alternative. It still lasts 12 hours, so you get decent runtime, but is a little bit more of a usable light. And so if the Moonlight mode was our only option at that low, obviously I would use that, but since we have a 10 lumen option, I tend to use that more. And then this flashlight also has another alternative which I like a little bit better, and to access that you just double click the button and we get a red light. Only 4 lumens, so not super bright, but a little bit brighter than our 1.5 lumens, and the red does preserve your night vision better than our white light. And so this one only lasts for 5 hours, so not as efficient as our white bulb, but I think it's a decent runtime, and I like that red light. Don't have a lot of flashlights with the red light, so nice selling point on this one. Now there are 2 red light modes, the continuous on that we're seeing here, or you can cycle the same way you cycle through those main to get to an SOS. Gonna cycle back to continuous because the red light mode also has memory, and so I prefer the continuous, and then turn it off with that single button press again. And then we have one last mode, which I'm not actually going to show because it can be a little bit obnoxious, although people have like seizure issues and stuff like that with flashing lights. But the strobe is accessed by triple clicking that side button. Pretty easy to get into. And if you just want to remember just a couple, I would do the main cycle and that red light mode, and it's pretty easy functionality overall. Now, pretty decent output, I think, for its size. I think a pretty good light overall. But for me, the selling point was the form and functionality of the rest of the light outside of the actual lighting features. So this is a pretty small flashlight. When I first saw pictures of it, I imagined it as double its size, but then I saw it in video, realized how small it was, and that was a big selling point for me. So about 1.91 inches tall, 0.83 inches wide, and about 0.91 inches thick or so. And so pretty small. Already mentioned the weights earlier on. This copper one's heavier at 2.26 ounces, the aluminum one 1.06, but pretty small. And then I really enjoy the mounting options on this one. So instead of our traditional pocket clip, we have this kind of spring-loaded clip, and it opens decently wide. I think they said 14 millimeters. Has this rubberized grip inside that is very grippy. I never have issues with this slipping off anything I clip it to. And the reason I like that so much is, one, it's just a little bit easier to use than the standard pocket clip. It's not going to get bent up on you, things like that, and it's just easier to slide on a lot of things where a tight pocket clip doesn't slide as easily, and maybe you need two hands to get it on. And so I like that functionality. Now that could also end up being a failure point, but can clip it to your bag straps, like your backpacks, or even your sling bags and pouches, MOLLE webbing in directly onto your pocket or shirt. The one thing it doesn't work so well for is like a hat clip, because it's going to be pointing straight at your feet, which if that's what you want, that's fine, but otherwise not so great as a hat clip. But again, mentioned that already, that this could be a failure point, but so far so good, and I will update if that changes. But so far I've had no issues with that, and I don't anticipate having an issue with it anytime in the near future at least. Now there is one other mounting option that's going to be a little bit less obvious, and that's this magnet in the top section of that clip. Right here where you see the text in that raised portion is all a magnet, and so if you put it onto some metal, it will stick right on there. Now it's sliding around a little bit because of what I have it mounted to, but when I put this on like my workbench or anything else metal, it doesn't seem to drop. That magnet strong enough to hold it into place fairly well, and that's with the copper version. With the lighter aluminum version, I would imagine it's even a little bit better. And so last thing to talk about is just the finish on this one. So we do have the aluminum one, which has a lot more options. Right now I think there's a black and OD green, and then still the Thanksgiving one in stock. That one's still OD green but has a turkey on it. And the copper is just this one option. Now this patina on here isn't something that developed with me or that I forced onto there. That's how it comes. I don't know if they have a name for it. It looks kind of like an antiqued or blackened copper finish, and I think it looks really nice. I would imagine you probably could strip that back down if you wanted to restart the patina process and let it patina naturally, or even force a different patina on there. You probably could do that, but I think I really like the way this looks, and obviously going to leave it as is. So looks pretty good to me. Now that's really it for this flashlight. It's USB-C rechargeable. I don't know if I mentioned that. You have this little silicone gate here to keep it IPX5 waterproof. It does come with the USB-C cable, but you can just use what you have as well. Would love to hear your thoughts on this flashlight down in the comments below. If you have it, what your experience with it's been, how you're liking it so far, and if you've had any issues with it. But as usual, if you enjoyed the video, definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and hitting that notification button. They all help out the channel a ton. And as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.